This is KGW News at Sunrise.
The wait continues this morning. Vote counts are happening in 6 states as our nation waits to see who will be the next president over the next 4 years. Now, but we can't forget the coronavirus pandemic at the same time. Oregon's governor launches a new plan to try and curb a rise in cases. Good morning and thank you for waking up with us on this Saturday morning. I'm Galen Etlin. Here's a live look now over downtown Portland from our Wells Fargo Skycam. It is a chilly November morning. You can see the fog out there as well. Let's check in with Chris McGinnis for a quick look at your forecast.
Hey, good morning, Galen. Yeah, you mentioned it's foggy, and we can see that from our Wells Fargo sky camera. It's pretty cool because just above that layer of fog, you can see the buildings across downtown over towards Lloyd Tower, etc. It's chilly out there, and in some cases, actually, at last check, Hillsborough reporting some freezing fog. Check this out. Hillsborough's down to 30, Beaverton 32, PDX at 37, but the west side of town and some of the pockets south of the gorge, south and west of the gorge, are waking up to some sub-freezing temperatures this morning. So if you're about to head out, maybe hit the road, be careful. There could be a couple slick spots out there. 42 right now, Baker City, Bend waking up to 34, and the Dalles in the East Gorge sitting at 36 degrees. All right, the plan for today includes a chance for some showers. Radar showing at least a smattering of green and white. Snow levels in the Cascades today right around 2,500 to 3,000 feet. So we'll keep that spotty shower chance going through lunchtime and into the early afternoon. I think the clouds start to break up late in the day. It'll be a chilly day, though. Galen, temperatures today not getting out of the 40s for highs in Portland. But the sunshine tomorrow, I think, is going to feel pretty nice. I've got more on that in your full forecast coming up in just a little bit.
All right, looking forward to that, Chris. Thank you so much. We begin this morning with the presidential election. Right now, we are still waiting on votes in 6 key states. President Donald Trump needs to win the bulk of them if he's going to stay in office. And former Vice President Joe Biden believes he will be victorious. Last night, he urged all Americans to be patient.
I know watching these vote tallies on TV moves very slow, and as slow as it goes, it can be numbing. But never forget, the tallies aren't just numbers. They represent votes and voters, men and women who exercise their fundamental right to have their voice heard. And what's becoming clear each hour is that record number of Americans of all races, faiths, religions chose change over more of the same.
Now, much of the focus has been on Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. The biggest prize left, though, is Pennsylvania and its 20 electoral votes. In Philadelphia, protesters have gathered outside the counting centers. President Donald Trump led heavily there in early counts, but lost that lead as mail-in votes, which lean heavily Democratic this year, were counted. Joe Biden now has about 24,000 votes ahead right now. Now, in the Las Vegas area, Donald Trump supporters rallied for a third straight night. They believe elections officials are trying to steal the election for Joe Biden. Biden leads in Nevada by around 23,000 votes. And in Atlanta, we could know the fate of Georgia's electoral votes today. Officials there say all early votes, day of, and absentee ballots have now been counted. They're working on their provisional, overseas, and military ballots right now. Georgia has 16 electoral votes, and Joe Biden leads there too, and could be the first Democrat to take the state since Bill Clinton. Now, while we wait for a winner, news came out last night. President Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, has tested positive for COVID-19. Meadows traveled with the president in the run-up to Election Day. He last appeared in public on Wednesday without a mask. President Trump himself tested positive for the virus more than a month ago. Now, in Oregon, Governor Kate Brown is pushing new restrictions as coronavirus cases continue to surge. The Oregon Health Authority reported 770 new cases yesterday. And the governor's orders cover Multnomah, Marion, Jackson, Malheur, and Umatilla counties. She's ordering a 2-week pause on social gatherings starting Wednesday. That will stop long-term care facility visits. Restaurant capacity indoors will be cut to 50 people, including employees. It will also cut gym, pool, and bowling alley gatherings to 50 people or fewer. And it will encourage all of us to limit gatherings to just your household. If you must gather with people outside your home, limit that size to 6. Governor Brown says now is our chance.
The virus can very quickly snowball out of control. We're seeing that in real time, and certainly lives are at stake.
90% of the ICU beds at the big Portland hospitals are now full, and that's a big change from just a few weeks ago. Meanwhile, the restaurant industry will take another hit with these new restrictions in those 5 counties. One restaurant manager told us they've already lost 60% of their business, and this will be even more devastating. Devin Haskins spoke with restaurants about the impacts.
Behind me, you have a path for traffic, and typically that would be all tables lined up in that area.
At Venti's Cafe in Salem, these past 7 months have not been easy. Restaurants have had to pivot with changing guidelines and mandates.
They'll check in right up there.
Under the new guidelines, it won't be getting any easier for restaurants in the 5 counties. Currently, restaurants can only have 100 people inside, including staff. That number drops down to 50 next week.
And in this area,
at Venti's, that means losing over 35 potential seats inside, making only about a third of their restaurant seating usable.
It's going to have a big impact on us, and I think it'll be a struggle.
The new guidelines are meant to reduce the spread of the virus by preventing large groups from gathering in one place, like a restaurant or a bar, where you would remove your mask. Restaurants argue there isn't a large amount of workplace outbreaks associated with restaurants and bars to warrant such restrictions. So if the state wants to limit the spread, why wait until Wednesday the 11th to implement them?
We know that these are going to have tremendous impacts on businesses that have ordered food, plan for what's happening in the weekend. So we want to try and lessen that impact by giving some notice to businesses as they move forward.
Thank you for calling the Old Spaghetti Factory in Portland. This is Gary. Can I help you?
The Old Spaghetti Factory has 1 restaurant affected and potentially 3 more if other counties are put on pause. Chris Hine, the restaurant's vice president of food and beverage, says they have more than ample space to keep diners apart even farther than 6 feet.
What's a little frustrating is having them tell us how to do it without really understanding our business model and how we could work together to do it together.
He says with the new restrictions, schedules will be reduced and there's still the possibility for more layoffs or furloughs. Both restaurants get what needs to happen and support the state's position, but it's coming with a cost.
Ultimately, we really have to be as efficient and as profitable as we possibly can to mitigate the losses due to all of these mandates.
The Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association, which represents 1,800 restaurants around the state of Oregon, says they plan to track all the wages lost during these 2 weeks of restrictions to show the impact that they have. In Portland, I'm Devin Haskins, KGW News.
Devin, thank you. We've got another update here. Clackamas County was on track to get students back in the classroom soon based on the governor's new metrics, but more cases of COVID are making that less likely. To return to the classroom, the county needs fewer than 50 cases per 100,000 people over a 2-week period. It also needs a 5% positivity rate or lower. Right now, though, that rate is at 6.6% with about 111 cases per 100,000 people. A return to the classroom might take a while, but health officials say it is possible.
I think that the relaxing in the metrics makes it much more of a reasonable goal, something that we could potentially meet because we have recently.
Schools are required to submit plans for when it is possible to return to in-person learning. Most focus on limiting interactions, keeping groups of students small, and including the teacher for contact tracing purposes. Washington State also hit a record this week with 1,500 more cases reported on Thursday. That increased the statewide total to more than 112,000 cases, including 2,400 deaths. The biggest concern for health officials is the number of new cases per capita. They want the 14-day average to be 25 or fewer cases per 100,000 people. Right now, it is more than 146. Leaders within Portland's Black community are condemning vandalism at the home of Portland City Commissioner Dan Ryan. Commissioner-elect Mingus Mapps brought the group together last night to support Ryan and to denounce months of destructive demonstrations. Thursday, protesters went to Ryan's house and they smashed a window, broke potted plants, threw paint on his house, and lit flares in his driveway. This came after Ryan voted against cutting $18 million from the Portland Police Bureau. That proposal failed. Many considered Ryan, who's new to the council, the swing vote. Pastor Matt Hennessy condemned the criminal attacks against Ryan as retaliation and intimidation. He had a message for those responsible.
You're not going to make us hate you. You're not going to make us do anything but feel sorry that that is the way that you handle your situation when you don't get what you want.
Commissioner Ryan was not home during Thursday's attack, but saw the damage the next morning. He spoke with our Laurel Porter about it.
It's been difficult to look at it. I think it says very little about the big picture of Portland. It says a lot about a small group of people that are taking it upon themselves to ignite more stress during a very, very difficult time.
Now you can hear more from Commissioner Ryan in the latest episode of Straight Talk that airs tomorrow night at 9 o'clock right here after Sports Sunday here on KGW, or you can of course watch anytime on KGW.com. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has delayed the college football season here in the Northwest, but that changes today even though there won't be any fans in the stands. How that affects businesses around Eugene and Corvallis, how they're trying to adapt with the loss of game day crowds coming up.